Mr. Kinzinger is recognized.
Well, I thank the gentleman, and thank you, Chairman. I'm going to try to do this as professionally without getting upset as I can. I want to talk briefly about what's going on in Venezuela, a disgusting situation. People are starving to death. We're seeing firsthand the failure of autocratic rule, of socialism. In the process, Mr. Maduro has decided that he is going to maintain power against the legitimately elected president, Mr. Guaido of Venezuela. If the United States wants to pressure Maduro out of his fake office that he does not have the right to have, we have what's called the dime model, diplomatic, information, military, and economic things at our disposal. My friend, Mr. Cicilline, just said that, we need to use diplomatic and economic processes to force a solution here. And the thing I'd make mention of that is when you're dealing with an enemy or an adversary, the only thing that makes diplomacy effective, as well as economic, is a military option on the table, is having that threat there. If you look at North Korea, what is it that compelled Kim Jong-un to the table? It was the threat of military force. What is it that took him away from table? It was the removal of the military threat. That's the same situation in Venezuela. But let's say if this passes, what does this do? Let's say Mr. Guaido, President Guaido, is held captive. Let's say he is captured by Maduro. We cannot use military force to rescue him. Let's say we want to put food aid in to save the people that are starving to death in Venezuela, and we need the military to escort food to people. They would be prohibited from doing it after this. Let's say the Russians build a military base in Venezuela and start flying fighter caps over the country and basically declare it Russian territory. This would prevent the United States from doing anything in response.
The gentleman yield for...
No, I will not. Let me finish. I listen politely to you, sir. Let's say that they build a military base. The United States cannot introduce any military action to push back against it. Let's say a massacre occurs in Venezuela. The United States cannot use the military to stop it. If you look at what happened in Rwanda, one of the greatest regrets of the Clinton administration is inaction because of a massacre. If this situation happens in Venezuela, which is not that far out to think of, we would be prevented. Now, sure, we could come here and have a debate. And if you think that this House can have a grown-up debate about this by taking away the power that the president legitimately has under Article 2 in the Constitution, if we're already political about Venezuela, imagine what it'll become at that point. Imagine the politics while a massacre is occurring. By the way, I actually thought about introducing an amendment to this to add Canada to the list, and Jamaica, and every other country, because if we're going to now pass resolutions saying we can't introduce military force in Venezuela, we may as well say the same thing about Canada or any other country that we have no intention at this point of going to war against. It would just make sense. That's about the purpose of this bill. And the other thing I want to say, Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, I have been on this committee now, I guess this is my 5th year. I've been in Congress for 9 years. And one of the things I have just loved about this committee is our ability to really come together in bipartisan ways. In fact, the entire time I think that I was on Foreign Affairs up until this year, we've never taken a recorded vote in this committee. Because everything we've done, we've had debates, we've had discussions, but we've really worked together to advance the interest of the United States of America. Even when President Obama was president, we would have hearings that could get a little contentious on things like Syria and that kind of stuff. But for the most part, we would pass resolutions that we all agreed on. But so far on this committee, we've done something about Yemen, and now we're doing something about Venezuela. Mr. Chairman, my request to you, as passionately as I can ask it, is can we at least pick a week in the next month, or when we come back from break, where we can actually do things on a bipartisan basis again and kind of see how it feels. Because if it feels good, maybe we can get back to that as the way we do things on committee. Instead of bringing up bills and passing them to make a point about the Trump administration. By the way, I can't think of crazy rhetoric. I mean, look, there's rhetoric the president does that I don't always agree with, but I can't think of that on Venezuela. He gave a really passionate speech in Florida about freedom in Venezuela and Cuba. He said the military action is not off the table, as he should say, with any situation like that, because it gives teeth to diplomacy. So this is an answer in search of a problem. There is no problem, And I don't know why we're taking this up. I had actually thought we were going to have a hearing and let this go away, but again, we're back here. So, look, I'm fired up. I'm passionate about it. I respect everybody on this committee, but this is just really bothersome to me, and I yield back.
Wait.